It's the responsibility of a good pediatrician or primary care physician to bring the subject of weight that's getting a little bit out of control. Doctors have to monitor certain parameters. We now have to calculate a BMI. It's part of an audit that most doctors go through with insurance companies. And if you do see that it's a lot higher than it should be, over the 95th percentile, we hope they recommend exercise, a healthier diet, and other ways. Maybe good examples, the parents might be overweight. Maybe they, as a family member, want the whole family to be controlling the excess amount of calories. So it's a big responsibility for physicians today. What's your opinion of that?
I think, I'm very passionate about this, something that I have to control myself. I think that pediatricians, and look, we're talking about when it comes to kids now, I think pediatricians are the first line of defense. I think parents, if they're good parents, they're bringing their children for well visits every year, and they're bringing their kids for well visits every few months, I guess, for the first couple of years. When a pediatrician sees somebody, a child who he already knows is overweight, he already knows it. He sees them starting to get chunky. Doctors are medically trained. They know that a lot of times kids are not just going to get taller and all of a sudden the fat's going to disappear. Okay? I think it's incumbent upon a pediatrician. His patient is that child. Forget about the obese parent for a minute who may be bringing that child in. He needs to sit down with the parent and he needs to say, listen, your child right now on the path that he or she is on is not going to get slimmer with the same habits that's getting him to be 10 pounds overweight right now. There needs to be a change in your son's or daughter's lifestyle. If that must begin with you, Mrs. Schwartz or Mrs. Cohen or whatever the name is. I understand it's a very diplomatic line that he's got to take. I really do. But if he's got to feel it in his heart. He's got to be afraid for the child that's sitting there, because most doctors, Dr. Kopla, they know that this is going to get worse. They see the parent that brought the kid in. If the kid is only just 10 pounds over where he should be, it's the beginning of the end, unless the doctor steps in and says something. Maybe doctors don't sometimes, because maybe they're afraid to lose a patient. Maybe they're afraid to put the parent out. She won't want to bring the child there anymore. It doesn't matter. It has to be done, because that's where it can start. Doctors need to be more proactive. I'm not saying they have to be sitting there doing diet counseling. That's not what they're trained to do, and personally, I don't think most of them would know how to do it anyway. Doctors know how you should eat. There's no question. Doctors know what's good for you and what's bad for you. But they don't have the time or the inclination to sit there and to do counseling and to see patients 2 or 3 times a week just for that, and to write them programs and to do individual diets for them, and to have them call them anytime they're feeling badly and they may want to eat something that they shouldn't. They don't have the time for all that, but they do have the time to sit down with a parent as soon as they see the beginning of a problem and say, Mrs. So-and-so, as your daughter or your son's physician, I'm a little concerned already. He's about 10 or 12, 15 pounds heavier than he really should be, than what's normal. Please do something about it now. That's what a doctor should, in my opinion, that's what he should do.
I wrote a program many years ago, and it calculates the projected height and weight. I find that's more valuable than a BMI. People don't understand a BMI. If I say the kid is going to be 5'8" and 220 pounds, you can visualize a 5'8" male, 220 pounds. I find that's a better way of telling people. We say BMIs, that they get caught in the numbers. We give it to them. We also convert, because each age, the 95th percentile might be a different number. But an adult 25 means you're overweight, and 30 means you're obese. Most people are starting to hear it. They understand it. But if you give them a visual, a woman that's 5 feet tall, 170, you can know what that girl looks like.
However, let me just say something about that. When a parent comes in with a child, of course I plot the child's body mass, and it's mainly for my information purposes. I explain to the parent what that is, but for me, with a kid, that's even secondary. However, my opinion, the percentile charts for stature for kids 2 to 20 and for weight, they're right on. Those two, forget about the BMI for a minute, because listen, 12-year-olds can be 5'6". That may not be the kids come in all different heights. If I see a kid whose stature for the age of 12 is over the center, the norm, he's at the 90th percentile for stature. Okay, that's fine. I'd like to get his weight to be closer to where his height is. You understand what I'm saying? So but if a kid is at the 50th percentile for height, which means he's the average 12-year-old. The average 12-year-old is of height. But his weight is at the 97th percentile. No, that's a problem. And I'm not, again, I don't even care about the BMI. It's not even relevant there. I always say to the parent, listen, your kid is at the 97th percentile for height, but look for weight, but he's right on target for his height. He's growing perfectly. We got to get him closer to the 50th percentile for his weight, so his height and his weight balance out a little bit better. And parents do get that. And I'll tell you something else. This is amazing to me. I cannot tell you how many times after I do all the percentile charts, the height, the weight, I do the BMI and the weight. I want the parent to see that as well. I'm the first person that ever did that with them that their pediatricians didn't. I tell you, I wish I had $1 for every parent that comes in there and says, I'm the first person that sat down with them and did these percentile charts with them and their child. And by the way, let me say, I don't do it with the kid there, by the way. I always see the parent a little bit separately. I don't need to have the kid in the room with me. But the point is, I'm the first person to have sat down with the parent and shown them on paper where their child is according to growth charts and where their child is according to their weight. What do you think about that? That after all these years of going to the pediatrician, no one ever sat down with them and did it for them. And maybe the doctor is doing it, behind closed doors and they're clerical, and that's fine, but nobody is talking to the parent about the percentile charts where their kids stand for height and weight. But I do.
So the first thing is to give them the label.
Yes. It's
simple as that. You have to say, this kid, it looks like going to be.
That's exactly right.
Obese.
That's exactly. Well, I don't even have to use the word obese. How about saying to a parent, Mrs. So-and-so, let me show you where your son is right now on the growth chart. She's doing fine or not, but let me show you where he is on the weight. I'm a little concerned about this. Yes, your son is going to grow a little more. Yes, maybe he's a year or two away from puberty and he'll grow a little more. But I'm bringing this to your attention now because it's incumbent upon me as your son's or your daughter's physician to do everything I can to make sure that as he continues to grow, his weight doesn't continue to expand either. Whatever you're doing at home, you need to make some changes there. That could be the simple conversation. And let's just say the parent brings the kid in next year and the kid is 20 pounds heavier. Okay. The pediatrician has documented his last conversation with the mother, and now she has to say, Mrs. So-and-so, listen, I had to talk with you about this last year. I'm not happy where your son is right now. Apparently you didn't make any changes, and he's got to do his job of trying to get the kid slim.